Welcome to Movie House Cinemas. Popcorn? Yes, please. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the movie. Reclining chairs? Don't mind if I do. Action, thriller, romance, we got it all. Discover the cinema today. Movie House Cinemas, home of the movies.
Founded on the principles of inclusivity, empowerment and positivity, I Am Beauty sponsors Robin Elliott tonight.
Good evening, and welcome along to Robin Elliott tonight. Coming up on the show, I'll be chatting to a man who's run 105 triathlons in 105 days. What a guy, Sean Conway. He's going to be on the show a little bit later on. We'll be chatting to music legend turned crime writer Paul Charles, all about his autobiography. We'll also be finding out about a new production of Evita, one of my favourite musicals of all time, that is on its way to Belfast Grand Opera House. And Jordan Banjo from Diversity will also be chatting to us, plus music from Brandon McPhee and Tony Allen, and new music from Beth, Nielsen, Chapman as well. But before all that, let's take a look at this week's big talking points. To help us do it, Mr. Showbiz, Paul Martin's here. How are you?
I thought you were talking about me about the triathlon, but I've only done 104. It's the guy who's done 105,
105,
right?
yeah.
Right, that's right. Okay,
this guy is crazy.
Yeah,
totally crazy to do
it's
that.
Tough, Robin. It's tough.
But talking about people doing crazy challenges, this is what we're starting with this week, isn't it?
This is particularly nutty start, if you'll excuse the pun, Robin, but it's lined up there. This guy in India has broken the record. Naveen Kumar, 27-year-old martial artist, has reclaimed the world record for the most walnuts cracked. I mean, what is he doing? With his head. In 1 minute, I think that's about 30 seconds they've done, mate, keep going. He was able to crack 273, you can see them all shelled out.
What I want to know is, how does a person learn that they can actually do that?
This is the question.
Point. How do you know you can do that?
4.5 per second. Look at him. I love it. God love him, honestly. I mean, is it worth it?
He's going to have brain damage or something by the end of it.
He must have had it from the first attempt to do it again. I love this quote here. It's from one of the reporters, and the Indian Times, I think it goes down to, reporting at the scene of this incredible record. Yeah, Kumar began at a you think it's the Wimbledon final. Kumar began at a blistering pace, yeah, and maintained it throughout, Robin. Here comes the best bit. Blocking out the pain of the growing welt on his forehead. I mean, that is frontline sportsmanship hero. You think that guy with 105 triathlons?
Yeah.
That's nothing. 247 walnuts, whatever it is, 73. There
Brilliant.
you go.
What a guy.
You have to hand it to him, don't you?
You have to.
Nuts.
Exactly. Now, something is lurking in the Thames, I believe.
It is. I love this story. This is the kind of story when I did it with the Irish Mirror that in silly season, which we are in at the minute, you would put over about 5 pages. This picture, you have a look at it here, Robin. What do you think? I mean, to me, it's beastly looking.
This is scary looking, isn't it?
It's sinister looking reptilian with red eyes, right? Forget a lot of this monster. The Beast of the Thames is sending everyone into a tizzy. It is going viral, okay? I love the quote. You can see it here in the headline. I spotted the Loch Thames monster. You think it could have been a bit more original. You know, the Beast of the Thames, you know? Or the Demon of the Thames with eyes like that. I spotted the Loch Thames monster in the river. Now I'm terrified to sleep at night. I don't think he's going to climb out of the River Thames and come hunt you down like 25 miles away in Windsor, you know, freaking break into your house and climb into bed beside you, mate. But anything for a good headline, I'm the first to admit that.
Exactly.
But very quickly, the mysterious shape peering above the waters. You judge at home.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what you think about this, Robin. Some have said, look, it's a big snake. Nonsense. If it's a snake, it's the biggest snake I've ever seen in my life.
Well, in a river, it could be an eel.
But that's not an eel, Robin. Have a look at that. That's the Beast of the Thames. That's the Loch Thames monster, I tell you. And I can't sleep at night even looking at that picture. That's my night's sleep ruin.
Yeah,
so I can't see where he's coming from. Crazy and great for the silly season.
Terror on the Thames.
Terror on the Thames. There you go.
go.
Mr. Tabloid himself. Mr. Tabloid himself.
What are we finishing on this week?
Are you one of these people who forgets passwords? Because I forget them all the time.
All the time.
I have to ring Jenny. She keeps a list of my passwords in Miami. At least twice a day to ask for the PayPal, my Gmail, everything else.
I just hit the forgot password button and just keep changing them.
All my link to Jenny in Miami now, they go to her because I can't do that.
Yeah.
So she's got my back on this.
Yes.
Nobody can have this guy's back. God love him. A man has 2 more chances before 232 million is lost forever. He's logged into he's been trying to log into his Bitcoin account, okay, which is encrypted, and after you pass, it's like Mission Impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Once you put too many failed passes in, it disappears forever. It's either this man had initially 7,002 Bitcoins. His name is Stephen Thomas, okay?
Yeah.
It has now gone up to 232 million in value, but he is 2 passwords away. He can't remember it. I love this quote, Robin. Understatement of the century, okay? I tend to just lay in bed and think about it. Then I would go to the computer with some new strategy of remembering a password, and it wouldn't work. And I would be desperate and disappointed again. 232 million. I think desperate or disappointment covers it.
Exactly, yes.
He's down to his last 2. Robin, would you stick or twist? I mean, it's worth nothing, right?
Well, exactly, yes. So you may as well have another go.
Can you imagine that you have to make it? You should make a TV show out of that, shouldn't you? The final attempt.
There
the
you
final
go.
hour, the final attempt.
Exactly, yes.
He's got 2. He has no clue, this guy. I understand. I do it on a daily basis. My thoughts are with you.
Yeah.
If you do happen to get some of it, send it to Robin, and I'd be very grateful. Thank you.
Exactly. Poor guy. Right, you're back on the radio this Saturday.
Back on Radio PM on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. live. This man will be on. Why? We love talking about aliens, and he always brings big listeners as well, so it's a win-win for us.
Exactly.
More Nuts News as well. Woo.
Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, Belfast 24/7. Let's take some music now. Something new from Brandon McPhee together with Tony Allen. Here's the brand new video.
As I went out through Dublin City at the hour of 12 in the night, who should I see but a Spanish lady washing her feet by candlelight? First she washed them, then she dried them over a fire of amber coal. And all my life I ne'er did see a maid so sweet about the soul. Whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo, whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo. As I came back to Dublin City at the time of 8:30, who should I see but the Spanish lady brushing her hair in the broad daylight. First she teased it, then she brushed it, on her lap was a silver comb. And all my life I ne'er did see so fair a maid since I did roam. Whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo, whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo. City when the sun began to set, who should I meet but a Spanish lady catching him up in a golden net? When she spied me quick she fled me, lifting her petticoat over her knee. And all my life I ne'er did see a maid so sweet as a Spanish lady. Whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo, whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo. I've wandered north, I've wandered south, through Stony Batter and Patrick's Close, up and around by the Gloucester Diamond, round by Napper Tansey's house. Old age has laid her hand on me, cold as a fire of ashy coal. In all my life I ne'er did see a maid so sweet as a Spanish lady. Whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo, whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo, whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo, whack for the tooraloo, laddie, whack for the tooraloo.
Right, still to come on the show this evening, we're talking to music legend turned crime writer Paul Charles. He's going to be with us. And we'll be chatting to Jordan Banjo from Diversity right after these.
Founded Founded on the principles of inclusivity, empowerment, and positivity, I Am Beauty sponsors Robin Elliott Tonight.
Heading to the North Coast, the Jet Centre in Coleraine offers entertainment for everyone. There's an 8-screen movie house cinema with all the best movies, 10-pin bowling, a massive arcade, soft play for the wee ones. Outdoors, there's a mini fun park and gem mining, plus an 18-hole floodlit mini golf course. Rain or shine, there's something for everyone here at the Jet Centre. Find out more at thejetcentre.co.uk.
Founded on the principles of inclusivity, empowerment, and positivity, I Am Beauty sponsors Robin Elliott Tonight.
And welcome back to Robin Elliott Tonight. On the way shortly, I'll be chatting about one of my favourite musicals of all time. Evita is on its way back to Belfast Grand Opera House, and not one but two Eva Perrons will be joining me in the studio. Before all that, we're going to take a look at some new research that shows that today's children dream of helping others and protecting the planet when they grow up. Let's talk about this further, because I'm pleased to say that Diversity's Jordan Banjo joins us on the line. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So the latest research shows that today's children dream of helping others and protecting the planet when they grow up. So this is something really positive, isn't it?
Yeah, man, really, really positive, which, not in a horrible way, kind of shocked me, because my main experience at the moment of children is my own, right? My oldest is 5 years old. And when I say to him, oh, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? He normally looks me dead in the eye and says, beat up bad guys and be Spider-Man. So it's not quite save the planet and be a doctor, but we're getting there. We're headed in the right direction. But I think, like you said, in terms of anything, it's just more positive than anything else, right?
Now, parents are changing as well, because they're expecting their kids to become YouTubers and things like that, rather than telling them to become doctors and nurses and things like that, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's probably the parents in a child coming out there themselves, right? Because I think it's an easy assumption to make, though, because you see all these stars from like YouTube and TikTok, and they're doing all these incredible things, and it's the sort of stuff that it's the sort of content your kids are seeing and digesting, right? So you would feel like it's a pretty safe assumption to say that, you know, oh, that's what my kids want to be. Like when I was a little kid, I loved EastEnders. I'm not saying I wanted to be Phil Mitchell, but, you know, I would have liked to have been an EastEnders. So I think it's probably the assumption you're making.
Now, did you always want to become a dancer right from an early age?
Absolutely not. No, didn't want to be a dancer. I used to like resist going to my dance classes when I was a kid, right? So I was like, oh, it's not cool. And all my friends are playing football and this and that. Now, I wish at this point I would say to you, all my friends are playing football. I wanted to be a footballer. All my friends were playing football, and I wanted to be an accountant. Don't know how I made that jump, but yeah, I wanted to be an accountant from like when I was like 8 until I was about 17.
Wow.
Didn't really stick to my guns and like, you know, follow the path. I didn't become an accountant. It's a bit different to what I've done now, but yeah, man, all good. And
were your family always supportive in your career choice?
Yeah, do you know what? I feel like no matter what I wanted to do, my family would have supported me. And I feel that's the case for a lot of kids, but as opposed to just having the support, you kind of also need the resources there to do it right, which is where Stronger Starts comes into play. And, you know, Tesco giving away £5.3 million every year for the next 3 years for schools and kids groups. Because look, if you can have an ambition, you can have a dream, you can want to do something, but if the school and the community doesn't have the funds or the resources to help you achieve it, it's always going to be a bit harder, right? Which is why it's super important that if anyone needs these grants, they head to the website, they apply for a grant, and they use this money for something good, because, you know, kids want to do good things. It's just having the resources to actually get there, right?
Now, from this research, we've also discovered that 43% of parents worry that their child will not be able to reach their full potential. So as you're a parent as well, are there any worries that you have for your kids at the moment?
I want to say there's any worries that I have for my kids in that aspect, because, you know, I've been very lucky and very fortunate in life to sort of land myself on a path where, you know, I can, you know, make sure my kids do certain things. I can fully support them and in whatever they want to do. And, you know, it sounds like a bit of an ugly thing to say, but unfortunately, a lot of the time is that we're either financially we're not able to do it, or time-wise we're not able to do it. And that's why Stronger Starts is so important. When the community can help, you can give a grant, you can get these kids in these classes or whatever they want to be doing. But unfortunately, for that stuff to happen, it's just the way of the world. People need the money to do it, right? And you know, when Stronger Start steps up with over £5 million a year, you know that people are doing a lovely thing.
What about your kids? Do any of them want to follow you into the world of dance or show business or anything like that?
Do you know what? My oldest boy, so I've got two boys, one's only 2.5 months old, so he's really young, so I'm not sure what he wants to be at the moment, but my oldest boy, he loves dancing, but he's very shy. He gets really shy really quick. My daughter, on the other hand, she's a showman through and through. We had a birthday party, and there's every single parent from her year at school, all the kids there, all of like our family friends, all of our family. I'm talking, there's like 100 odd people there, and she's obsessed with Frozen, right? So we got an Elsa and Anna to come down, and they came to sing. Halfway through Let It Go, as this Elsa's about to hit her note, my daughter snatches the mic out of her hand and tries to sing. It almost turned into like a death metal version of Let It Go. She was like, Let It Go. And I was like, oh God. But she's not shy at all. Loves singing, loves dancing. Whenever she comes to a tour, she always wants to get on stage. So if I had to place my bets on any one of them that headed in that direction, it'd be Mimi. Might be my little girl.
It's great to see the kids these days are interested in what's going on around them, what's happening in the world, interested in sustainability and stuff like that. But in a way, they're kind of teaching their parents, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. You know, my son and my daughter, they come home from school and, you know, there's leaflets, so they've been doing, you know, at different times of the year, they're drawing pictures and writing down information, and I'm genuinely learning stuff about it, like from them, about sustainability and how important it is. And I'm like, if you're getting those lessons from when you're 4 or 5 years old, you know, it can only be a positive thing, because really and truly, most of us now as adults are trying to make changes, but for our kids, it'll be second nature. It won't even be this is going to sound so random. At one point, for like my parents, it was normal to see people smoking indoors. Do you know what I mean? In restaurants or in shopping. Now, to me, that's not the weirdest thing ever. And for my kids, would never have even seen that. That would be super odd. By the time my kids are adults, you know, sustainability and doing things off of second nature and it just being part of their life, that's the way it should be, and that's the way it's going to be. So it is really nice. It is really cool.
And are you going to be fully supportive if that's the role they're going to take?
Whatever my kids want to do, is like, I'm going to support them as much as I can. You know, if that's the route she wanted to go down. You know, all you can do as a parent is make sure your kids are happy. Do you know what I'm trying to say? If one of them wanted to go into show business, if one of them wanted to go into, I don't know, architecture, if one of them went, do you know what, Dad, I've got a real obsession with, I don't know, with biros. I want to be the best pen salesman in the world. But mate, you crack on, do what you want to do. Do you know what I mean? All you can do is like back them up and help them out, right?
Well, Jordan, what's happening with you work-wise at the moment? Any exciting projects in the pipeline that we should know about?
Do you know what's really, really upsetting about that question sometimes? You know, when you genuinely do have, so like we all know the answer. Even if you speak to someone, even if they've got nothing going on, they'll go, plenty of stuff in the pipeline. Genuinely, there's loads of stuff in the pipeline, but I can't talk about it. I'm not lying. I promise you guys, I'm being serious. Couple of shows, couple of new shows, TV-wise, that we're working on at the moment. Obviously, me and the rest of Diversity are going out on tour in end of September, all the way through to April. So yeah, you know, keeping busy. Me and Perry still got our radio show on Kiss Breakfast every morning. So, you know, we're having a lot of fun, and it's busy, but it's what you want, right?
And any plans to come back to see us in Belfast anytime soon?
Do you know what, I'm pretty sure we're announcing some more dates very, very soon. I think I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying that. No, my luck. It's probably one of those things I shouldn't have said, but I think we are announcing some dates very, very soon. So yeah, come and see you guys very soon.
Jordan, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Time to talk theatre now, and one of my favourite musicals of all time, Evita, is on its way back to Belfast Grand Opera House. The two leading ladies, who both playing the main role of Eva Perron, joined me in the studio a few days ago. Here's what happened. Okay, we're talking theatre next, and one of my favourite musicals of all time is making its way back to the Grand Opera House. We're talking about Evita, and I'm pleased to say that both Evas join us in the studio, Karen and Caroline. Girls, welcome. Good to see you both. no pressure on this one because again, it's a massive role, isn't it?
It absolutely is, yeah. For both of us.
Yes.
We both have a lot to do.
Yeah. So both of you playing Eva in the same show, aren't you?
Yeah.
So how does that work, Karen?
Well, Caroline is going to take the first sort of quarter of the show, where Eva she starts off at 15 and on her way to Buenos Aires to sort of climb up in the world. And then there's a point in the show where she meets Perron.
Yes.
And that's when I literally step into her shoes and it becomes me. So Caroline has the young, innocent, bright-eyed girl, and then I get the jaded character.
Yeah, but you do get the big song on the balcony. You
I
get
do.
Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, don't you?
I do indeed.
Yeah.
That's not terrifying at all.
I remember seeing it years ago in the Opera House with Marty Webb doing it, and I was sitting in the circle bit, and when her balcony came up, I came to the circle, so I was watching Marty Webb singing that song, and it is such an iconic song, isn't it?
Very moving.
Yeah.
I haven't cried yet,
Yeah.
but I think there might be maybe just one tear, but
Yeah.
definitely it's very moving.
Okay, Caroline, tell us about playing young Eva then. What's that going to be like?
Oh, it's so exciting. I just love the role, you know. Buenos Aires is one of my favourite numbers in the whole show. It's so challenging, but
Yeah.
I love it. It's great fun. You know, it's really nice to get to share the role with Karen, you know, because Karen and I get on so well and it's really exciting. She's really ambitious, she's really driven and full of energy, full of fun. So I just love that I get to do that and then hand it over to Karen.
Yeah. But you don't get the big song. You must be disappointed you don't get the song on the balcony.
Oh, no. I let Karen do it. You know, Karen, I heard her in rehearsals, just amazing. It honestly brought me to tears. So I just am lucky to get Buenos Aires. Personally, that's one of my favourite numbers in the show, you know, it's quite vocally challenging and physically it's a massive dance routine and, you know, Anne-Marie's choreography is absolutely incredible and the dancers are just amazing. And then I get to lead that number, so I feel like I'm not missing out.
Okay, so that's your favourite part of the show. What's your favourite part in the show?
Ooh, my favourite part of the show, apart from watching Caroline do Buenos Aires, because it is, she's totally talking it down. It is so hard.
Yeah.
She gets all the hard work. I just come in for the death, which is beautiful.
It's not a spoiler. Everybody knows she dies in the end.
Well, actually, I think a couple of the cast members
Didn't
didn't
even
actually
know.
know she
Yeah.
died. It was a shock to them. She's sick. Yes, she's sick. So she dies at 33. Obviously, I'm very young for that. No. So yeah, she's sort of in her prime, and then when she passes, they make her this icon that they literally idolize her corpse.
Yeah.
Like it's insanity. They adored the woman, and then
As they say in Over the Circus, Argentina does go to town.
Yeah.
we have to establish that there was also this like undercurrent where they were taking money from the government and it was a bit nefarious in places, and we have to find that balance because there is history there. It's not like she's a made-up character. We can't make things up. It's actually, there's a lot of fact there that we have to tap into.
What about research for the part? Have you watched the movie?
I have. I watched the movie a long time ago for the story. Definitely not Antonio Banderas. And it's beautiful. I actually love Madonna in it. I think she's great. I've watched that. I've watched a thing called Santa Evita, which is, it's sort of like I don't even know how to talk about it. It's like a docudrama, like where it's all staged, and it's very interesting as well. I've watched old videos from the 50s, from the 40s, from the 30s, trying to see what it was like back then. I've read countless articles. The director, Tony Finnegan, name drop, has been sending me long articles and saying, read that. and I do, obviously, very, very well. So lots of research has to be done.
Last time you were here, we were talking West Side Story.
We were.
So you've done the West Side Story, you're doing Evita. I mean, you've done most of the big musicals, haven't you?
I would say so. Now, there's a couple not available to us that I would love to do.
Like what?
Hamilton.
Yes.
Absolutely. 6.
Yes.
Yes.
We should be in 6 together.
Yes.
You should, I can
As a
see that.
twosome.
Yes.
Okay.
We would call it 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's lots of big ones. Things like The Producers I've never done. But yeah, the opportunities here with amateur theatre are amazing. If you know like where you want to be and if that's something that interests you, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, but Caroline, I saw you recently as Nancy
Yes.
in Oliver. What a part. And when you sung that As Long As He Needs Me song, what a moving moment in the show.
Thank you so much. I really love doing that, and you know, transferring from Nancy into Evita is so different, but also very similar in a way.
Yeah.
I find that they're both very powerful female roles, you know, both vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
And you know, I love that, and now I'm just so excited to get back on the stage in September.
What was it like singing that song, As Long As He Needs Me, on stage with the nice lighting behind you and everything? Because it was just silence across the audience.
It just felt like I was in a dream almost, you know. I was on the stage. I sort of, as a child, never really thought I would have that solo moment on stage, just me with the lights. Couldn't really see the audience, just had the spotlight on me. It was quite emotional for me, you know. And the final night I felt quite emotional, felt like it was a dream, and just really enjoyed it. And the number meant a lot to me, loved it as a song, and it was really good to be able to, you know, belt your heart out on stage on your own.
You're still only 17, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So what's your kind of hopes and dreams and plans then?
It's always a really difficult question people ask me, because I'm so torn, because obviously I've been doing musical theatre my whole life. I've performed in the Opera House the first time I was 4, so you know, I do see myself doing that in the future, 100%, but at the same time I have other interests as well. So at the minute, I'm not too sure what road I'm going to go down, but eventually it might happen. If not, I'll always continue to do it. Yeah. Amateur productions, you know, it's so amazing here in Belfast, the opportunities I've already had at 17 years old, that I'll just continue that as I go along.
And the Opera House stage is something really special, isn't it?
Oh yes, like I feel it's another home to me, you know. It's one of the most beautiful theatres in all of Ireland, I would say, probably my personal favourite. And to be able to just be on that stage, perform, it's such an honour.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, Evita, when? Well, we know where. We can see it at the Grand Opera House.
Grand Opera House.
What's the dates then?
20th to the 23rd of September.
We look forward to it. The best of luck with the show. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I'll be chatting to a music promoter turned crime writer, Paul Charles, right after these.
Founded on the principles of inclusivity, empowerment and positivity, I Am Beauty sponsors Robin Elliott Tonight.
Here we are on the north coast, where sporting legends are made. He needs this putt to advance to the next stage, but can he do it? The crowd are holding their breath. Can he cope with the pressure?
Dad, would you take the shot?
Yes! Yeah.
Well.
Founded on the principles of inclusivity, empowerment and positivity, I Am Beauty sponsors Robin Elliott Tonight.
Okay, my next guest has got a fabulous new book out called Adventures in Wonderland. He's somebody who's always welcome on the show because he just has so many great music stories. It's Paul Charles. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Robin. How are you?
I'm very well. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Congratulations on the book.
Thank you very much.
This time it's not a crime book.
Yes.
It's about...
Some say.
Well, some say. I'm sure there's some stories in it. But it's all about your life. So yes. I suppose to start off, we're going to go way back to the beginning. As a young man in Macrofelt, where did your love of music come from?
My first real memory of music, of being impressed with music, because up to this point, I'd kind of, if I heard something on the radio I quite liked it, you know. Yeah. But if I heard something I didn't like, it didn't impact me at all. My mum, however, was a big fan of Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, and she absolutely swooned over Emile Ford and the Checkmates. Particularly, I'd love to get you in a slow boat to China, and what do you want to make those eyes at me for? Yes, yeah. To the degree that she always had the radio on, waiting for one of these songs to come on. Yeah. And so I ran into the kitchen one day, and my mum was there with the radio on listening, and this sound hit me and froze me, literally on the spot. And it was so infectious, it was so hypnotic, it was so pleasing. It actually made you feel good about yourself. And it was, of course, the Beatles.
Yeah.
Please, Please Me. And really, I suppose, looking back on it in that split second, that kind of pretty much, in hindsight, defined what I was going to do and how I was going to go about it.
And your career then has always been about an ear for music as well, because it was only music that you liked, that you worked with. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, no, totally, yeah. I mean, again, my partner, myself, Paul Fenn and myself, we always had for our agency, Asgard, we always worked on the principle that we would only work with people we really loved. And the logic was very selfish, really, because my thought on it was, if you really like somebody, if you really care about their music, then you're going to do everything that's in your power to do to help them get on their way. Whereas if you don't care about somebody really, or if you're a bit iffy about the music or whatever, then, and you think, well, maybe I should do these because I can make some money out of them, then that's the first step on the road to disaster. So we've always, as you said, always just concentrated on people that we actually had a passion for.
What about the first band who you looked after? Because you were still very young when you started, weren't you?
Yeah, they were the Blues by Five up in Marafelt, the capital of the universe, as we all know. Still is. Anyway, a bunch of mates of mine that I used to hang out with decided to form a group. And I couldn't sing, and I couldn't play a musical instrument, and my dad didn't have a car, and they were the three main ways of getting into a group, because your dad had to carry it for him from gig to gig. However, I wanted to continue to hang out with him, so I did know this guy, you probably remember, called Dixie Kerr, who played saxophone with the Breakaways. Yeah. And Dixie lived 2 doors down from me, so I went and knocked on the door. I was 15 at the time, and I knocked on his door and I said, Dixie, is there any chance that you could give the Blues by Five a couple of bookings supporting the Breakaways? And they were called bookings in those days, not gigs. And being Dixie, he said, of course, Paul, yeah, no problem. So the way you did in Showbiz Land, he got his diary out and said, look, I can give you the 13th of May in St John's Hall. I can give him, we're doing Cookstown Hall, that'll be handy. So he actually gave us three support spots. Wow. And I went and told the band that I got them 3 support spots for the Breakaways, and they said, okay, you're the manager. Wow. And really being a manager in those days meant nothing more or less than getting the gigs. But I found that I enjoyed getting gigs. I enjoyed that process of booking, and I also was very good at it. I mean, I'm not being big-headed, I just am. It's something that I know I can do and I do well. And so that kind of, and again, it wasn't part of a big plan. That's something I wanted to, the selfish reason I wanted to hang out with my mates. So I did that, and then I left and moved to London, and I moved to London because I wanted to see the Beatles live. And I figured if you were in London, you'd be able to see the Beatles every week.
And did you see them?
Sadly, the news hadn't got to Marafelt that they'd split up 6 months before. But there I was in London, and I had a job, and
did you ever get to meet McCartney or anything?
I met all of them apart from John Lennon. I saw them all live in their individual settings, and I met all of them apart from John Lennon. But I saw him do that. Remember the Rolling Stones rock and roll circus, where he was part of the Filthy Macs, I think it was. Of course. So I saw him do that. But I got to. And again, it was a main treasure to kind of actually see people that you'd loved their music so much that you knew pretty much every note and every lyric, and then you meet them as humans. And the funny thing I found is that out of all the people I've met in the music business over the years, the 3 remaining Beatles, at that point, they had a presence. They had a real presence. They weren't big in your eyes because they were the Beatles. Yeah. That presence came before that. They were kind of quite magical people, I always felt, as humans. And I remember a friend of mine was working at Abbey Road Studios, and he walked into the studio one day, and there was the 3 remaining Beatles sitting in the Abbey Road canteen having a bite of lunch. And he'd worked on a TV show that they'd been on, and so he felt, if I don't go up and say hello to him, I'll never ever have this chance again in my life, and I'll always regret it. Yeah. So he went up to them, and he couldn't even remember his own name. He was literally speechless. But anyway, being the special people they are, they made him feel at ease. They started a conversation with him. They all, you know, kind of got into the night, and were very, very, very nice, very sweet to him. And then he eventually, you know, when he remembered who he was, he said, why are you eating in the canteen? Why don't you just go out? There's lots of nice restaurants around here, Abbey Road, you know. He said, well, we tried that, we can't do it.
Exactly.
And he said, what do you mean you can't do it? He said, well, we went to one the other night, the first night we were in here, we went to one a couple of streets away, and we walked through the front door, and this waitress saw us, and she was holding 2 plates of food, and she dropped both of them in shock. It was just, that was the aura they had. You know?
You always strike me as somebody who's always relaxed and chilled, and yet you've worked with some of the biggest names in the music business. Is it difficult to keep calm at times? I'm thinking if you work with people like Van Morrison.
Well, again, funny you should say that, but I'd been a big fan of Van's, I mean, even from, you know, the Here Comes the Night days. I mean, you know, we were up in Marfelt. We were very proud of them because they were the first Northern Irish group to get on the English pop charts, and this was a big thing. But not only that, they did it with a classic single. It was one of those singles everybody knew from the first time you heard it that it was going to be a hit. Yeah. So there was that pride thing. Then I moved to London, and you'd kind of hear the stories coming back from America, and I eventually come across Astor Weeks, and that was probably the biggest musical milestone in my life, and still is pretty much. I mean, it's never ever not paid off. It's never ever been anything. And you kind of sometimes you get an album, a pet album, and you play it so much that you just maybe I've, you know, that's never. Every time I played it to this day, I still get the same thing. So anyway, I eventually tracked him down, and you know, was lucky enough to get to work with him as an agent and promoter. And on the first tour I did with him, which would have been February and March of 1978. Van and the band came over from America a week or so early. They were going to rehearse and let him doing the show. But Van, being Van, he's a very hands-on person. Yeah. He came into my office. I wasn't expecting him. He came into the office, and the receptionist, a Scottish girl, kind of buzzed through. He said, "Boy out here claiming to be Van Morrison." I said, "It probably is." And I went out, and I had the same thing as Peter has. I literally could not. He said, "Oh, hi, I'm Van Morrison." Put out his hand to shake me. I could not get a single word out of my mouth. Wow. I couldn't speak. I was so tongue-tied, you know. Wow. And again, I think it's just that thing about when you spend so much time alone listening to somebody's music and being so moved by that music every time you hear it, you just don't think really that they're humans. You don't think that they're not people that you can converse with them and you can talk to them about the weather or taxi drivers or anything, you know, and you just kind of go. But anyway, equally being Van, he kind of, you know, started a conversation, made me feel comfortable, and went on from there.
What about somebody like Gerry Rafferty, who's somebody who I thought was a genius, but didn't really get the credit they deserved when they were alive? Yeah,
I don't know about that. You know, I have a feeling that I think Gerry Rafferty was a great songwriter and a brilliant vocalist, and a great thing, a great arranger of music. Him and his producer Hugh Murphy were always working on projects, and you know, you don't sell allegedly, you know, 10 million copies of City to City in America if people don't. Exactly. I mean, I think maybe that parts of his life were maybe troubled, and you know, maybe that. But I think that, you know, as a songwriter, he was second to none. I mean, his songs, you know, I mean, even on the "Can I Have My Money Back," his first solo album. I mean, again, what a great title.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Can you imagine somebody? Yeah, I bought this record yesterday. Can I have my money? No, but that's just what it's called. No, but can I have my? But I can't. No, I found him a sweetheart to work with. I mean, a very, very, very nice man. Always very, very gracious with us. Very nice with us. Taught me a lot about music. Once he discovered that he was a very shy man, and I got on very, very well with Hugh Murphy. I worked with Hugh, with Paul Brady, and actually with Van as well. So I got to know Hugh quite well. So because I knew Hugh well, then Gerry didn't make strange with me, you know. So, but once he discovered I was a Beatle record, him and Hugh used to come round to my flat, and once we put on a record, and for instance, here, there and everywhere, you know. And he'd see how much it was moving me. And he'd say, you know what that is, Paul? That's just 3 voices and a wee bit of a push from the drums. That's all it is. He was the first person that got me to examine why songs were as successful as they were. Yeah. And you didn't need to have, you know, the kitchen sink on it, you know, and he had that. But he had that kind of magic, and him and Hugh, would record a lot, and I think they recorded an entire Beatles album, an album of Beatles songs, and I heard a couple of the tracks, and one of the tracks was Because from Abbey Road, and Jerry played every single instrument and did all of the harmonies himself, and it was just a masterpiece. It was just great. I could never ever, for some reason or other, persuade him to release it as an album, because he kept saying, well, I don't think people are ready for it yet, Paul, you know.
I was playing on the radio the other day, Tanita Tickerum's Twisting My Sobriety.
Yes.
You had great success with her, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, no, again, we were very, very lucky. I mean, and again, Jerry really was part of the instigation for that, because I remember thinking at the time, and Asgard were doing well, and we'd a lot of great singer-songwriters of that generation. I was thinking, if I could find a singer-songwriter of this generation, the next generation, and I kind of, you know, went about it quite seriously, and I'd kind of thought out, I was going to sign to Warner Brothers. I'd even got a pet name for them. The pet name was Paul Skeffington, after Paul Simon and Jerry's mother's name. Right. And I'd worked out that Paul Skeffington would always be photographed with a guitar so that people knew he was a serious songwriter, all of this stuff. And anyway, 18 months later, I hadn't found anybody. I mean, I remember even I took adverts in the Belfast Telegraph, you know, showing where my loyalties were, you know, and nothing was happening. And then one night I was at the Mean Fiddler, and it was towards the end of the year, and Paul Brady was in town to do, I think it was a week at the Mean Fiddler. And so I went up to see him a couple of nights, and I went up on the Friday night, and because the main room was packed with people searching for maybe a wee drink before Paul went on, I thought I'll go into the peace and quiet of the acoustic room, which was always sanctuary, always very quiet. And they had on that night, they had an open mic night, and they had 5 artists. And the idea was that those 5 artists would bring their friends, and across all the friends would be enough of an audience to give the bar the take that it needed to make it work. And so I would then have my usual cup of tea in the acoustic room, and I'm sitting down drinking it, and whenever any of the artists came on, their table, you'd notice immediately they were friends, because they would stop talking and they would listen. However, when this artist came on stage, there was nobody there to see them. None of her friends came along. So I kind of was watching, and, you know, she did a couple of songs, you know, Sighing Innocence and Good Tradition, and the Cathedral song, I think it was the other one she did that night. But this weird thing happened, this funny thing happened about a couple of songs in. Because she'd no friends there, all the other tables were talking. And so it got to be that they started to round her out, you know. And she did this incredible thing. She kept playing her guitar, right? She stopped singing. She walked very quietly over to their side of the stage. She glared down at them until one by one they stopped talking. And when they'd all stopped talking, still playing her guitar, she walked back to the microphone and started to sing the song again. Now, if I had done something like that, my heart would have been beaten through its ribcage. Exactly. But she did it like she was just like she swatting a fly, you know. So you know, I discovered my Paul Skeffington, who in fact turned out to be Tanita Tickerum.
Brilliant! Wow. Fast forward many years later, we can talk about the crime books as well. How did all that come about?
Well, I'd always been dabbling a bit in writing. I'd done lyrics for Troupe, several songs. I wrote for the Belfast City Week and Thursday Magazine, mostly doing music stuff. Well, all doing music stuff, really, to be honest, and quite enjoying doing it. And then I kind of was really turned on by the Inspector Morse stories, and I'd seen it on TV first, and there was just a scene in one of the episodes whereby Morse and Lewis drive out of Oxford to this scene where a body has been found near a river. And so you see them talking to people, they're interviewing people, they're examining the body, they're doing all of that. They get in the maroon Jaguar and drive back into Oxford. And there's one point where they stop and they get out in the countryside, they get out of the car and they lean over the skate looking out at this cornfield, green hedges, green trees, beautiful blue sky, the maroon of the thing, and it's just a beautiful thing. But there was nothing but music. Yeah. For 3 minutes, there's no dialogue. Yes, yeah. And I thought, this is such brave TV, and I wondered, was it the director of the TV or the writer of the story? So I tracked down the author, which was Colin Dexter. I bought a couple of his books, loved the way he wrote, loved the way he never got in the way of his books. Yeah. He was never in the stories. Yes. He was never showing you how clever he was. He just had a command of English language. And I remember then, you know, again, travelling a lot and thinking, well, now, if I did that, what would my detective be like? You know, and I had no plan to write it all. And then I thought, well, you know, I'd want him to be an Ulster man. I'd want him to be, you know, because I knew obviously the logical way that the brains work would be important for solving crimes, and you know, and I'd kind of started to build up the character. I gave him the name, you know, Christy Kennedy, Christy from Christy Moore, Kennedy from JFK. I'd kind of all the thing there, and then again, without planning that I was going to do it or anything, I said, well, you know, I just found myself had started to write, and then. Yeah. I'd written 10 chapters. I thought, maybe I should finish this, you know. And then I sent it off to a couple of people, and one person picked it up.
You've had many, many books out over the years. Any more to come?
I'm working on a Kennedy story at the minute. Brilliant. Yes. Yeah. Called The Return of the James Gang.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Paul, we could chat to you all day, but if you want more stories, they've got to get Adventures in Wonderland.
Good idea.
Which is out now. It's a great idea. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Always good to see Paul Charles whenever he's in Belfast. Now we're going to meet a man who's run 105 triathlons in 105 days. I reckon he's crazy. We'll find out why he done it right after these.
Founded on the principles of inclusivity, empowerment and positivity, I Am Beauty sponsors Robin Elliott tonight.
Let the good times roll at Super Strikes at the Jet Centre. You can now book your lane online. We've got 14 bowling lanes and 4 mini bowling lanes. Plus we serve delicious hot food and snacks, or enjoy a cold beverage with your food after the game. Discover bowling today at the Jet Centre. Jet Centre, entertainment for everyone.
Founded on the principles of inclusivity, empowerment and positivity, I Am Beauty sponsors Robin Elliott tonight.
And welcome back to Robin Elliott tonight. In the final part of the show, we're going to meet a man who has run 105 triathlons in 105 days. He's a world record breaker, and he joins us now on the line. Sean Conway, how are you?
Hello, mate. I'm quite exhausted, if I'm honest. I finished on Sunday, so where are we now? We've been 5 days off, and Monday, Tuesday, I felt all right, actually. I think the adrenaline, my body's still thinking, right, are we carrying on? Are we carrying on? And then Wednesday, my body realized it's over and it's sort of just given up now. So I'm fully exhausted.
Well, congratulations on your latest achievement. I think you must be absolutely insane to do this.
I know, I should probably go and get tested. My mother keeps telling me. So yeah, it's on the to-do list, I think.
So 105 triathlons in 105 days. I think the previous record was 101, wasn't it?
Yeah, James Lawrence set an unimaginably high bar for me in Utah a couple of years ago. And you know what? Because he had the record of 50 2 years ago, and then he broke his own record. And I remember thinking, wow, that is really hard now. But I'm sort of glad he set a high bar, because it just gave me something harder to chase. Now the reward of achieving it is so much greater, because had the record only been 50, would I have gone to 100? Don't know. I probably would have, knowing me, but you know, if something had gone wrong at day 55, I might have thrown in the towel. So yeah, thanks to James Lawrence for setting such a high bar for me.
So tell us what's all involved in the challenge then.
Yeah, so a full distance triathlon is a 2.4 mile swim straight into 112 miles on the bike, ending with a marathon at the end. And that marathon, it was never easy. I mean, the swim became a little bit easier. I got a bit stronger on that. And the bike, I was sort of consistent towards the end. But the run, throwing a marathon at the end there was so painful. Every step just sent shockwaves up my legs and into my lower back. Yeah, I mean, I sort of thought that maybe I would fit into the swing of things on the run, but it was just so painful every single day. So it was a real sufferfest, as they say, towards the end there.
Now, there must be a huge amount of training and preparation, but can anyone do an Ironman challenge with the right training, the right nutrition, and the right mindset?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I did a lot of training. I was training probably 20, 25 hours a week. So I was looking at 3 sessions of everything every single week. So 3 bikes, 3 swims, 3 runs. And I probably should have done a bit more load training. I probably should have done some multi-day runs and multi-day bikes in the lead up. And I probably, if I did it again, which I'm not, I would probably do 5 full distances in a row, about 6 weeks out or 8 weeks out, just to see where I was at with the training. But I think if you just follow all the steps and trust the process and don't expect results too soon. I actually attempted this last year. I just partly hadn't acclimatized my body, conditioned my body enough. And there's a couple of issues with the route I planned last year. So I got injured on day 5. I actually fell off the bike. So, I think no matter what, however strong I could have been last year, I did fall off the bike, and that sort of was a nail in the coffin. So in all, I had 18 months of training just to get to the start line, which is about right, I think. I think 12 months is a good lead time if anyone wants to do multiple full irons. I think, certainly 7-8 months minimum, I think, but 12, you'd be in a good place, I think.
Now, as well as the physical training, what about staying focused all the time? Is that difficult to do?
Yeah, every single day I had to tick every single box. And that's the hard thing with this record. A lot of the other things I've done, if there's been a bad day or if I've had a niggle or the weather's been a bit rich, I could do a shorter day and then make up for it the following days. Whereas this one, I had 17 hours each day was the time cutoff to finish each full distance. And if I didn't make that, it's game over, record over, go home. And so, trying to stay focused, trying to eat properly, hydrate, sleep well, muscle management, keeping myself motivated, the crew motivated, all of that was all part of it. And, you get through a day and you think we did today, and then you suddenly realize you've got another 70 days to go and you've only done 30. That was quite hard. I remember the 100 as a number not being that difficult to think about. But on the 10th of April, when I realized I'd be doing this till nearly the end of July, that was quite a scary thought, if I'm honest.
And what about nutrition and diet? How important is that?
Yeah, so I needed to eat about 8,000 calories a day. Big shout out to Optimum Nutrition, who gave me some mass gainer for my bottles, because I basically had about 3,000 or 4,000, 3,000 on a good day of the powder, which went in the bottles. So not only if I hydrate, I could also get some calories in as well. And then the rest of it came from eating, and I was eating just constantly throughout the day. I was eating before the swim, during the swim, after the swim, and then on the bike, I had a little snack bag, my top tube, and then I had 3 feed stations during the bike, and then I'd eat before the run, and twice on the run, and then I'd have a big meal at the end as well. Just because 8,000 calories, if you lay that all out on the table, there's quite a lot of food, and your stomach's often not big enough, so you want to spread it out throughout the day to give you a chance of not losing too much weight. And I only lost 3 kgs in the end, which is I'm really happy about. I mean, the last kg was muscle, so I lost a bit of power and speed in the last month, but I was pretty happy that it didn't get any worse than that, really.
So you've done 105 triathlons in 105 days. Is there anything else that you would love to try to achieve then?
No, I mean, I've got some ideas. It's hard. It's going to be hard to top this one, if I'm honest. This is definitely the hardest thing I've ever done, and I sort of wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, truthfully. But I'm quite excited about actually potentially helping someone break the female record, which I think is about 20. So I'm sort of hoping that if there's anyone out there, go check my Instagram out, Sean Conway Adventure, send me a message, and I'd like to mentor someone to get the female record. So I'm going to probably focus a little bit on that, and also my work with youth sports, trying to get kids into sport and stay in sport and do sport outside of school, because the figures are pretty low for kids who do sport outside of school across the whole world, really. So hopefully I can work on that, and that's going to be my focus over the next year or two, definitely.
Now, if there's somebody watching this now who would love to take on some kind of performance challenge, what's the first bit of advice you would give them?
Just start training now. Don't overthink the training. If you're doing a long endurance challenge, you need miles in the legs. You're not going to get away with doing a Joe Wick session every morning, although they're good. I did them with my wife every morning because it's still fun and it's still good for you, don't get me wrong. But if you want to do an ultra trail run or an ultra run or cycle 200 miles or even 100 miles, you need to really get the hours in the legs and start small, baby steps. It's not going to come today or tomorrow. You got to play the long game with the endurance. But I tell you, the rewards are so much better when you've spent a whole year training for something and then achieve it. So my first advice is just get out on the road and go and do your thing and do it for the love of it, rather than trying to overthink and go, I don't have the right bike or I don't have the right shoes. Just go out there and do it, Well, Sean, once again, congratulations on the world record, and thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, thanks for having me. Great talking to you.
There we go with Sean Conway. So that's all we've time for on the show this week. To play us out, some new music from Beth and Nielsen Chapman from her latest album, Crazy Town. This is a track called Love. See you back here same time next week. Bye-bye.
Love, I made it mine. I made it small. I made it blind. I followed hard, only to find it wasn't love. It wasn't love. Love of songs and pen. Oh, love of movie endings. Takes out the break, leaves out the bend, and misses love. Love not of you, love not of me. Come hold us up, come set us free. Not as we know it, but as it can be. Love's reality is not of passing bravery. It holds out hope beyond what's seen, the hope of love.
Founded on the principles of inclusivity, empowerment and positivity, I Am Beauty sponsors Rob and Elliott Tonight.